This is episode 6 of the Eminence in Shadow second season. The story continues as the elite member of Shadow Garden reports the situation to his comrades. Alpha reflects on the fact that he has defeated 3 elite members of the organization. Gamma expresses her unfamiliarity with John Smith's name and speculates about his origin, wondering if he is a named child or a resident of the lawless city. However, their conversation is interrupted by Rose, who states that John Smith's skills surpass even the most skilled fighters. She believes that he can predict their every move and compares his power to that of the 7 shadows. Despite number 664's attempt to silence her, Rose insists on fighting John Smith once again. Number 664 asks number 66 to shut Rose's mouth, and they leave the room. Alpha sighs, realizing that this is another problem they have to deal with. Gamma informs Alpha that she has assigned Zeta to gather more information on the issue. Alpha assumes that since Zeta has not contacted them, the mission is progressing well. However, Gamma informs him that the cult of Diablos is putting up more resistance than they had anticipated. Alpha expresses her desire to finish the mission quickly so that they can relax together. She suggests sending Delta to deal with John Smith, a plan to which Gamma agrees. John Smith is reading his diary when he suddenly senses something and looks out the train window. He sees Delta running parallel to the train at super speed and she jumps inside, aggressively attacking him. However, John easily stops her and tries to capture her. Delta manages to dodge his attacks and ends up destroying the carriage. John praises her for removing his overhead defense, but he states that it won't do any good. He attacks again, destroying all the rubble. Delta struggles to move as she is buried under the debris. John remarks that the fate of a beast is to crawl along the ground, and that he knows the Shadow Garden will figure it out first, although it's too soon. Delta recognizes that John Smith is a shadow, and joyfully jumps at him. The scene changes, and Shadow asks Delta what brought her there. Delta explains that she was hunting, and when Shadow asks who she was hunting, she reveals that it was John Smith. After a moment, Shadow says Delta that he is John Smith. Delta admits that she can't beat John Smith, and that she plans to report it to Alpha. John Smith asks her to listen to him. Shadow explains to Delta that he is currently on a top-secret mission that can only be accomplished by a super-elite secret agent. Delta becomes excited and expresses her desire to participate in this mission as well. However, Shadow explains that this mission is something only he can handle. He warns Delta that if she talks about John Smith to Alpha, her mission will be compromised as it is crucial to keep everything a secret. He asks Delta not to disclose any information to anyone. Delta reveals that she is currently on a mission for Alpha, but Shadow assures her that he will give her a new mission. He reminds her of the rules of the Shadow Garden, stating that when he assigns a mission, it takes priority over any other tasks, including Alpha's mission. Although Delta worries about Alpha's reaction, Shadow assures her that Alpha will understand, as the mission he is about to give her is to save the world. He promises Delta a reward upon completion of the mission, but specifies that it should be something he can provide without much effort or money. Delta eagerly agrees to undertake the mission, and listens attentively as Shadow explains that she needs to hunt down a villain named Juggernaut in the lawless city's Black Tower. Despite Shadow's insistence on the reward meeting his criteria, Delta still believes that Shadow will fulfill her desires. Shadow, however, senses unease about sending her on this dangerous mission but remains resolved to save the world. He is confident that Alpha will be understanding, and that everything will be fine when the weather warms up. Gamma approaches Alpha and shares an intriguing discovery. Gamma reveals that she has found evidence of a fierce battle at the mission site, suggesting that it was triggered by a specific object being cut. As Alpha looks on with shock, Gamma further explains that Delta, a trusted member of their team, would never abandon a mission without a strong reason. She believes that Delta's actions were driven by her loyalty to Alpha and her refusal to defy an order. Deeply concerned, Alpha instructs Gamma to continue investigating the incident, with the goal of recovering the girl's body. Gamma, however, shifts the conversation to a pressing issue: the alarming increase in counterfeit notes circulating in the economy. She warns that if this continues unchecked, citizens will lose trust in paper money, leading to a surge in demands for redemption. This would pose significant problems for Mitsugoshi, as they lack the necessary resources to meet the expected demand. Sensing the urgency, Gamma proposes developing a plan to address this issue promptly. Alpha then reveals a shocking truth: this chaos was exactly what John Smith had intended all along. His objective was not merely to profit from fake bills, but to instigate a trade war between the major corporate alliances, plunging them into a credit crisis and eventual bankruptcy. In this turmoil, John Smith planned to seize control and accumulate all the wealth for himself. Gamma finally realizes that Smith's scheme was not about making occasional profits, but rather about creating a market that consistently generated profits for him. Meanwhile, two individuals approach Get and express their concern about the circulation of counterfeit notes, explaining that the cult will suffer significant losses if this continues. One of the men challenges Get, emphasizing the importance of the situation and the need to prioritize it above personal wishes. In response, Gettin decisively decapitates the challenger and inquires about John Smith. The other man then reveals that John Smith obstructed their investigation into the counterfeit notes. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Gettin orders Garter to establish checkpoints at the royal capital for thorough inspections of all incoming and outgoing items. Garter attempts to dissuade Get, citing potential problems with the royal family, but Gettin asserts his dominance by killing the other man present and demonstrating his authority. He commands his servant to do whatever it takes to uncover the origin of these counterfeit notes. Meanwhile, Iris and Alexia unexpectedly encounter each other in the city. Iris expresses surprise at seeing Alexia back at the castle, to which Alexia explains that the academy is still under reconstruction. As a result, she decided it would be easier to access specific books in the palace archive. Alexia shares various subjects she has been studying, and Iris questions whether Alexia would give up her sword to become a scholar. Alexia denies this, clarifying that her studies serve to broaden her perspective of the world. She reflects on the many things she noticed the previous spring and believes that unless she possesses the wit to wield her sword strategically, she will always remain an ignorant warrior. Alexia asserts that to wield her sword in an important place, she must earn the right to be there, emphasizing that it is not always necessary to use a sword to reach such a prestigious position. Having realized this lesson late, Alexia expresses her commitment to dedicating herself solely to studying from now on. Upon hearing this, Iris simply leaves Alexia talking to herself and continues on her way. Meanwhile, Beta explains to Shadow about the rumors circulating regarding fake bills. She suggests that the royal family will soon start relocating, and as expected, Beta mentions that the creation of unauthorized checkpoints has had a significantly negative impact on the market, with immeasurable consequences. While Beta speaks, Shadow diligently writes down every detail. Beta finds this strange, but Shadow explains that it's necessary to document these occurrences since they will affect the world. Beta apologizes and continues with the explanation. Beta emphasizes that addressing these rumors should occur at the state level since the situation has the potential to escalate rapidly. Shadow mentions that something doesn't make sense, piquing Beta's curiosity. However, Shadow clarifies that he is not referring to his report. Beta resumes her research, but mid-discussion, she interrupts herself, mentioning an important point about her report. In this case, Beta reveals that they've sent Delta to hunt down John Smith but have lost contact with her. This revelation leads Beta to suggest that Delta may have been killed. Shadow pretends to be unaware, and suggests that Delta may simply be in a distant location. Beta wipes away her tears and tries to believe that Delta is in a better place. Beta further explains that John Smith is an exceptionally skilled fighter, and requests that Shadow pursue him. However, Shadow dismisses the idea, stating that he is preoccupied with other matters. As he prepares to leave, Beta stops him and emphasizes the need to destroy or encrypt any classified documents in that location. Shadow showcases the encrypted note to Beta, impressing her with his encryption skills. He challenges her to decipher it, promising to share his wisdom if she succeeds. Shadow then returns to the train. On the train, two black market traders engage in a heated debate about Gettin's ideas until they are interrupted by Shadow's arrival. Initially terrified, the men find solace in the belief that they will be safe as long as they hide from John Smith. Alpha appears to confront Shadow, analyzing his fighting style, and discovering that she is fighting Shadow himself. However, Shadow asserts that he has abandoned that name. Alpha questions Shadow about Delta's whereabouts, to which he responds that he merely sent her to a distant location. Hearing this, Alpha becomes agitated because his response does not satisfy her inquiry. Despite the language barrier, Alpha expresses her desire to support Shadow and gradually understand him. Alpha declares that she wants to be by the side of the man who saved her life. Shadow states that she will eventually understand him once everything is over. He attempts to bind her with his threads, but she manages to break free and launches an attack. Shadow explains that although she can transform into mist form, she still needs to solidify herself to execute a genuine attack. He demonstrates that although her mist form makes her difficult to hit, it allows her to fly. Shadow gathers a powerful force of air and launches an attack, causing Alpha to be sent flying. After arriving at their destination, Yukime reveals her plan to weaken the large corporate alliance by exchanging almost all the fake notes for gold. She explains that the coffers of the alliance will surely be empty, while she secretly accumulates several authentic notes. To further disrupt the system, she suggests leaving the authentic notes in a public place where people can see them, triggering a race to reclaim their money. Yukaim predicts that the MCAS supply of funds will be insufficient, leading to its downfall. She anticipates this chaos extending to Mitsugoshi as well, leaving no resources to exchange the circulating notes. Meanwhile, she believes the government will be too occupied with attempting to control the situation. Yukaim and Shadow plan to disappear without a trace during this opportune moment, taking all incriminating evidence with them. Yukaim emphasizes that the influx of counterfeit notes causes the total currency in circulation to increase, leading to a significant rise in prices and the potential onset of inflation. She deems this the perfect time to execute their plan. Yukaim praises Shadow for his quick deduction and acknowledges that the plan wouldn't have been possible without him. Changing the subject, Yukaim delves into her past, recounting how her village was engulfed in a war for the great hero Shiva's fallen crown. Weaker clans like hers struggled to survive as stronger clans sought dominance. In an attempt to secure allies, her clan formed ties with like-minded clans. Yukaim reveals her marriage to the son of the patriarch of the Great Wolves, swordsman Getten, whom she admired. The village held their union in high regard. However, everything changed when the conflict reached the nearby large clans, resulting in the complete destruction of Yukaim's village. Getten approached her, offering pills to gain power and save themselves, claiming that neglecting power led to the death of a woman close to them. Yukaim refused and attacked Getten, intensifying their enmity. Despite losing her village and resorting to a life as a prostitute on the battlefield, Yukaim's true ambition remains to find Getten and strip him of everything he has. With determination, she sets off on this quest, alongside John Smith. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Annie Explainer, for more anime recaps.